You're listening to The World at 8 with Lynn Mozart. The World at 8, the number one in nationalist news.
Here are the highlights for today, Friday, 17th of October 2014. First we have a chat with Nick Griffin, ex-MEP, and finally a joke for the weekend. Now before the chat show I have a very short thought, and that is today I received, through the post, a very small parcel which contained a poppy and some cards and a pen. All very pretty, and do you know my first thought? Why on earth didn't the BNP do something along those lines years ago? Now, I'm no longer a member, activist or official of that party. I can now criticise where I believe they, or the powers that were at the time, varied and many though they were, went wrong. It was being in the dark ages of public relations. It was thinking that sending volunteers out to push leaflets through doors in the 21st century was doing any good. And the proof has been in the last 5 years no good at all. Most of them ended up not being read and being thrown, even at election times. Now, if the British Legion can send out a pen to every household in the country, that is publicity on a grand scale. No one ever throws away a pen they got free in the post. You may laugh or scoff and temporarily forget it, but you will use that pen and you will notice the logos on the side. It is free and useful. Too many good ideas have gone in the bin over the years and stupid ones replaced it. During the GLA election with Richard Barber many years ago, I had the idea of dropping balloons with BNP logos on the centre of London, and actually found a firm who would do it, and it wasn't expensive. It would have given us more votes and brought the BNP name into the hands of the children who would grab them and their parents. It was, of course, shelved. Taking out adverts in the Nationals then was a possibility, again shelved. Billboards were shelved in favour of the Truth Truck, which did a good job, but it had to be driven and parked and kept up. During the last 5 years since those elections and the absence of NG in Europe, the BNP was left to its own devices and became the bolt hole of idiots all trying to get on the non-existent ladder. In truth, the BNP lost more than its chairman at that time. It became a media black hole and the subject of internal wars made public through the courts. It was a case of the establishment and infiltrators dividing and conquering, when in fact what they succeeded in doing was destroying the BNP entirely. We nationalists must never make this mistake again. If the British Legion can do something without the help of the web, then surely we can. A pen is only a pen, but the pen is mightier than the sword in the end. And now we have a chat with Nick Griffin, and today we talk about UKIP, general election prospects, Labour 25 paedophiles, and the way forward for nationalists who are in fact now ex-nationalists with nowhere to go in regard to regional activities and demos.
Good afternoon, Nick. Now, how are you? I know you've got a streaming cold.
I have indeed, but life must go on.
Oh dear. So if we have a few guffaws and whatever we have mid-what's it, we'll have to make arrangements around that. So anyway, now I've got some questions here. I'm going to start off with your response to the very, very good response that we got from our chat on the elections last week.
Yes, it was perhaps the first time we've asked people to let us know what they think. And as you say, we had a very interesting response. Other people saying, yeah, they agreed with the analysis that I produced about the current electoral problems, which obviously with the UKIP saying it makes it very, very difficult for nationalists of any stripe to make progress. We regard elections as the only measure of progress. And as you say, as you know, I said that that's a very, very narrow-minded thing to do, and that there's many other ways in which we can achieve and measure progress. So we need to get away from the election fixation and do things more intelligently, and the message went down very well indeed.
Yes, it did actually. There were lots of people who previously had been just sort of honed in on elections, have actually broadened their outlook a little bit, which is what we want, because...
yes, indeed. Yeah, sure.
The way forward for nationalism, I believe, has been encompassed by you, and it's very, very different to what we're used to.
Yes, indeed. I was thinking more about this as a result of people's responses. I was thinking more about this UKIP thing, and I came up with this analogy that because they've got the active backing of so much of the left media, they're able to take the ideas which made us a significant force even while we were demonised and ignored.
Indeed.
And when you take the popularity of our ideas and our rhetoric and you put it together with mass support from virtually the entire street and broadcast media, then the thing is a tidal wave. So when you've got a tidal wave hurtling towards you, you've got to decide what are you going to do.
Run.
And I would suggest that the BNP's response to the UKIP tidal wave up until now has simply been to say, well, we'll have to swim very fast in the opposite direction, which of course basically means that people have got drowned.
Yeah.
I'm not giving away any secrets when I say that basically in every branch and region of the country, the BNP, there's been a steady decline of membership activity and morale as people basically give up because of the obvious futility of trying to swim against the UKIP tidal wave.
And also the hostility. We met actually. Outright hostility in quite a few areas.
I don't know that's ever bothered anyone. We've got far less hostility now to what we had, say, in 2002, 3, 4. Far less so. It's not the hostility that's the problem. To an extent, when you're demonised, people who are angry with what's going on in British politics look at you more favourably. It's the fact that the problem is it's the UKIP tidal wave. That's our problem, and how do you deal with the tidal wave?
Well, exactly, and The Guardian, I believe, has come up with the fact that UKIP could win 30 seats next year.
Yes, I think today's Guardian, so you're absolutely right, you're on the ball. It's today's news that they're now suggesting they could win 30 seats.
Yeah.
If they win in Rochester, you think is now likely, it could go even higher than that. They're saying, that figure, for instance, they're saying, well, one of the seats that they could win is Hayward and Middleton, because they did so well there in the by-election last week. But other seats near it, places like Burnley and so on, they're not counting those because they still look at last time's figures when in 2010 UKIP's vote was often behind ours. But if they can come from, I think, 3% in Hayward and Middleton, so 2.6%, wasn't it? To be
2.6, I think I've got that here somewhere.
To nearly winning, then...
It was 2.5, UKIP was 2.5% and we were 7.
There you go. So if they could come from being as far behind as that to almost winning, then it just goes to show. And I would say, in fact, that anywhere that the British National Party did well, including particularly the key thing in 2010, is now wide open to UKIP. It's as simple as that, because they're using our message and our rhetoric, but they've got that that big amount of support. So when I say the tidal wave, what do you do about it? The analogy I came up with this morning actually was that the way to deal with a tidal wave isn't trying to swim against it, is to find a surfboard and surf on the damn thing.
True.
And that's what we've got to do.
And a very new approach, really.
Well, indeed so. Let's look at it realistically. So let me get one thing absolutely clear. I'm not in the remotest bit pro-UKIP.
No.
I want to see the thing in the end replaced by a genuine nationalist party which will actually deliver.
Yeah.
Because UKIP is a safety valve, it's a big business party, it's got nothing to offer ordinary people, it's a civic nationalist party which will make exactly the same promises as the Tories always have done before an election about with immigration, and then it won't bloody well deliver.
No.
It's got very, very significant Islamist streak within it.
Yes,
because it's so cowardly, that won't go away. So, apart from perhaps it may be the vehicle which might get us out of the European Union, which is important, beyond that, I have nothing but contempt for that party. I'm not sympathetic to it at all.
No.
We've got to be realistic that there are hundreds of thousands of patriots, probably now millions, more than decent patriots, who are now tending, for want of anything better, to fall under UKIP's influence.
Yes.
And if we simply go our own sweet way and try and go against the tide, and in particular, here and there, cost UKIP seats by taking a handful of votes in a sort of a kamikaze action, then we're not going to attract any attention to those people, and we're not going to influence any of those people either. Oh, that was, sorry, my telephone going off.
Oh, that's all right. We'll forgive you.
All right. So we need to be more intelligent than we have been.
Yes.
Okay. So like I say, let's treat it as a tidal wave that we're going to ride on a surfboard. So the question is, how are we going to build the surfboard, and how are we going to ride it?
Exactly.
So,
That's it.
do you want to know the answer?
I want to know the answer, and I'm quite sure our listeners do.
Okay. All right then.
So I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to listen.
Be listen. Be quiet and listen then, because,
I listen.
and as I say, this UKIP thing is attracting huge numbers of people that we wouldn't have attracted. It's only been effective because the mass media have boosted it so much, and therefore it's got an enormous reach. But it's got a very, very soft, mushy, civic, nationalist, populist centre to it. It doesn't want to, they can't afford to develop their ideas, because if they do, they'll immediately split their conservative wing from their working class wing. You've got lots of people within it, particularly Southern England, who are basically extreme Thatcherite Tories.
Yeah.
For instance, they'd love to privatise everything, but if they're going to win in urban areas in the Midlands and the North, then they've got to do what some of them do actually and say, well, the Labour Party is the party of PFI, we're the party of, of and for ordinary people. It's not true, and they can't develop those ideas, because if they do, they'll tear themselves apart.
Yeah.
So you've got this thing with an enormous number of people around it, which can't set about teaching them a concrete set of ideas. It can't give them an ideology.
No.
So there's that gap. So, they won't touch, they'll talk about immigration, but they won't touch indigenous rights.
No.
They'll talk perhaps here and there about, the Labour Party is the party of PFI, but they will not touch the banking scandal.
No.
So that's the gap, because I think I mentioned last time how I got talking to several UKIP campaigners who were tell me all about the Frankfurt School and so on.
Okay.
So here's the gap. So these people have been turned on to politics by that, and especially by UKIP, and especially in the days of the internet, they'll then go looking more for concrete ideas that really explain things. And that's our job, and what I believe we need to do to ride this wave is basically ideological entryism. I'm not talking about the old entryism of the militant party into the militant paper into the Labour Party, which is physical, people actually joining it.
Yeah.
I'm not so much talking about that. I'm talking about just getting our ideas into their circles, and the internet and a website which puts across nationalist ideas in a way that's acceptable and understandable to UKIP type people, can have a really important and powerful effect, I think.
Yes, I think it would actually. I think that is probably where the computers can actually, and Facebook and websites can actually aid a political movement.
Absolutely so. And perhaps there's a similarity in the English Defence League, when at a different level, obviously.
Yeah.
When that was built up, we quite quickly pointed out the blatant way in which the whole thing was a Zionist front.
Yeah.
But that doesn't alter the fact that it woke up and radicalised quite large numbers of working class youngsters.
It did. Yeah.
Some of who have since moved on from UKIP, from the UDL.
Yeah.
Rather than gone into Britain First, which isn't, I don't think it's a blatantly Zionist run, I don't think it is at all actually, but it's still a very soft, populist, mushy thing that hasn't got a proper set of real nationalist ideas. And our job is instead of pretending that we're going to win elections over the next year or two, wasting vast amounts of money on that, if instead of that we set about, in the case of the street movements, simply showing we can organise better looking, better organised, better disciplined, more effective demos than your lot can. Come and join us.
Yeah.
In the case of UKIP, we simply say to those people, yeah, okay, UKIP's fair enough, but where's the concrete ideas? Does UKIP really explain what's going on? Does UKIP explain the origins of the European Union? Does UKIP take people from the origins of the European Union to Copenhagen and the White Genocide Project? No, it doesn't. I'm not saying for 1 minute we can take the whole of UKIP in that direction.
No.
Instead about using it intelligently, we can take some of our people in our direction. As I said last week, and I know the phrase went down well, instead of treating it basically as an enemy, to mix our water metaphors, let's treat it as a huge pond in which to go fishing.
Yes, I think that is actually very good, and it's always better to be a large fish in a small pond, apparently.
Possibly so, possibly so. So that then leads us on, or leads me on, so people say, well, what about the next election? Because, well, we have to do something in an election to be relevant. I would say you don't have to, actually. There was an election in the early days of the British National Party when John Tyndall said, no, we'll get a hiding, we're staying out of it. And the party stayed out of it, and it was proven afterwards to be in a very, very sensible move.
Yeah.
You know, there's no point going over the top into concentrated machine gun fire. It's not what a political guerrilla army really sensibly should do.
No.
I think there are things we can do in the election. I'll give you an example. One of the seats which in the papers today they say a Labour seat could fall to UKIP is Walsall North, which is David Winnick's seat.
Oh, yes, nasty.
He's a really nasty piece of work, a fanatical opponent of the BNP, a staunch, crazed Zionist who's one of the strongest supporters or advocates of the illegal Iraq war. He really is a piece of poison.
Oh, dear.
I've no idea who the UKIP candidate against him is going to be.
No.
I would note, to use one of their phrases, a little holiday in my heart. If David Winnick was thrown out, and the only person who can throw him out isn't the Tories, it's not us, not the BNP, it's UKIP.
Yeah.
So, several people have said to me, with the new organisation, the new campaigning organisation they're going to put together, why don't we use things the BNP never has properly, things like the Labour 25 campaign,
Yes.
The Labour Party's sickening
The named paedophile.
involvement with paedophiles, and beyond that, the way in which their whole social agenda and sexual revolution agenda, it's all part of the same operation.
It is.
Why not
Destroying the family.
exactly? Why not use that and have our middle people, instead of futilely trying to get 1% of the vote somewhere and try to money doing it, simply go in as third-party disparagers to Walsall North and try and help the other people who might beat David Winnick get the bastard out.
That's absolutely true. But I do notice you've been saying BNP when, of course, we are no longer BNP.
Indeed, we're not, because we've all been expelled. There's still a few who haven't been. It'll go on and on, and it'll get worse. And yet the BNP, I gather, appears to be shaping up to say they're going to fight the election.
Oh dear, fatal.
It's probably just an excuse to wait to try and score a few quid in, because they said they were going to fight the Rotherham police election and then didn't, haven't got the money. So I don't know whether they will or won't. No. But even the fact that they're telling people there's a point fighting elections now, it's not good leadership, Lynn. In fact, it's very bad leadership.
It is.
Because, to be crude, it's bullshit.
Well, there comes a time, I think, in every political organisation, whether it's our new business or whatever we do, when you literally have to face facts and back down and do what John Tyndall thing. You just have to sit out and wait it out.
Yes, indeed. Other than, I agree entirely. I wouldn't take the matter of sitting it out. It's a matter of finding more constructive things to do.
Yeah, exactly.
A battle of ideas to create. When you've got a mush like you've got in the street protest movements or in UKIP, an ideological policy-less mush, if you simply create a well-defined pole of attraction, a positive, and there's not even a negative there to pull people the other way, it will pull some people towards us. So we need to do that. But also, I want to see us getting down to the practical organisation as well.
Grassroots levels, you mean?
Grassroots levels. And what we need in order to, especially in the days of Facebook, social networking and so on, and especially photos and very, very short video clips.
Yeah.
People read the newspapers, and the latest thing, perhaps it's some headmaster has sent a couple of kids home because they complained about being bullied by Muslims in the playground.
Oh, yes, I've read that story. That's very much.
So So this sort of thing crops up every few weeks, probably every day actually, in fact. If you look in the newspapers,
Yeah.
you can find a story a bit like that. And everyone knows about it, complains about it, and at present more and more people say, well, you know what, I'm going to vote UKIP to do something about it. But none of us actually doing anything about it. What needs to be done is that bloody head teacher needs to wake up on a Sunday morning and find there's a demonstration outside his house.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that would make some of them think, well, I'll be a bit more careful. What I do imposing my politically correct neo-Marxist poison on my pupils in future, because it might bring hassle and trouble to me and my door, and my husband, wife, boyfriend, or whatever it is, won't like it. I think we need to do that. We don't need many people to do these things.
No.
We need in each region, really, 10, 12 people, a minibus load, who are agreed to go at a certain time, and people who aren't able to go, perhaps help raise money so that there's, the fuel and a bag of chips and a cup of tea while they're out and so on.
Yeah.
That's all you need in the days of social media to make the point that we're there standing up for our people. This is us fighting back. All you need is a small team to go along, photograph it and video it, and then you publicise it. In the old days, you had a demonstration that wasn't reported in the press, no one knew about it.
No.
These days, you have a good-looking demonstration, you come up with some good artwork to advertise it, and it's seen by, shared and liked by potentially millions of people.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to see us doing, not least because if you've got a team of 10 or 12 people in each region, then you can do a good little demo at very short notice in that region.
Yeah.
But then a couple of days' notice, you can pull together a demonstration of, say, 100 people.
Yes.
Smart, properly equipped, really well organised. And then to that, you can then add the extra, sort of the local auxiliaries, as it were, who can get there as well. And you can start showing that, while people are thinking about voting UKIP, and while UKIP are pretending they'll do something about it, we're there on the streets, on the front line, actually fighting back. And I think that is what our people are desperate to see. It's been far, far too long since that's been done.
Yes.
Other people have showed the way, and I think that we need now to play catch-up pretty darn quick, because I tell you what, we can do these things better than anyone else out there can.
We can, and I think with the right people, we can have small but select, and have researchers actually telling people where to go, what to do. It can be advertised, even on the news, it can be advertised, as you say, on Facebook, it can be advertised now. I mean, entire countries have been brought to their knees by Facebook and mobile phones.
Yep.
And I think that certainly, I think it's a question of consolidation.
Yeah, exactly so. And far, far better, a few people still said to me, well, we'll be fighting the next general election and getting a TV broadcast.
Oh, no.
The TV broadcast would take well over 100 seats, is the required threshold, which £500 every seat in lost deposits, which is guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
People will say, yeah, love what you're saying, but voting UKIP. That's 50,000 quid down the drain before you put a single leaf in it.
And that's 50,000 quid, which people haven't got.
Or they haven't got, or if they have got it, then I'm maintain that there's far, far better things at present we can do with it.
Exactly.
In the long term, it's different. Like I said before, I'm not at all sympathetic to UKIP. The thing is a menace, and we have to, in the end, better it, beat it, and replace it one day. In the short term, that'll happen quicker, but sooner it gets enough MPs to get itself in a coalition government.
Yes, I truthfully say, I think that UKIP, having got so many nationalist concerns, actually, that have brought them to the top, I think they're going to act like a very, very beautiful, bright bonfire that burns out very, very quickly.
I think that's exactly the case. But if they stay in opposition, they won't, in all probability. They'll have splits. I mean, they've had several catastrophic splits in the past.
Yes.
If we've got a foothold in there, if we've got a few people who are actively sympathetic to our ideas, we'll recruit from that kind of UKIP split far more easily than we could from the general public.
Yes.
People who are already to an extent woken up. But overall, the important thing is that they'll end up in a coalition government delivering presumably a further and even worse Tory austerity
Well, bugger all, actually, is probably what they're going to do.
And at that point they're disgraced.
Mm.
We can't then simply say, oh, well, that's when we appear with our couple of hundred activists nationwide, because you can't appear quickly enough. You need a very large number of people who are already active, who are ready to switch back into election mode when the electoral gap opens up again for a couple of years.
Yes.
And so that means at present, because the election mode isn't very attractive, to put it mildly, we need to find other things to do, like we've been talking about today, so that our activists and new activists feel infused that what they're doing is worthwhile, and bringing extra fresh people on board.
Yes.
So that then, in the long term, when UKIP hits the buffers, as it will, we've got, I don't mean words about it then, it's a revolutionary nationalist organisation that we need,
Yes.
which has the ability, as part of what it does, to fight and win elections.
Yeah.
When the time is right.
Yes, and the time is not right for next year.
Not right for next year, the time will be right, and so we've got to organise around things that will work for now, to bring enough people in and focus the organisation and build the organisation so that when the time is right for that electioneering stint, we're ready to go. And we can be, and we will be, as long as we back off from it a bit now.
Yes.
And use our brains. We've got a box cutter.
Yeah, the time is not right at the moment. We've got to be piggyback gorillas, I think the term is.
Yes, piggyback gorillas or riding that surfboard.
Yeah, riding that surfboard and gathering people along the way.
Yeah, exactly so. So that really is sort of what I wanted to say at present then.
Yeah.
And again, I very, very much appreciate people's thoughts, ideas, criticisms, concerns and enthusiasm.
Oh, yes.
And we'll take it right from there. So if you're listening in, please let us know what you think. And that's about it, other than a couple of event announcements I'd like to make.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah.
Stage is yours. Yes.
The 1st of November is the anniversary of the disappearance and murder of Charlene Downs in Blackpool.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be organising a day of action in Blackpool on the 1st of November. We're meeting up outside the entrance to Blackpool Football Club at noon.
Right.
The 1st of November. And then I suggest that people down south perhaps look at some other way of marking the Charlene Downs case day, because on the 29th of November is when we really want a lot of people, everyone who's seriously interested in building a modern and effective movement to carry us forward.
Yeah.
We're holding a one-day conference and a social in the evening in Blackpool on the 29th of November.
Right.
It's the same day as Pat Harrington and the rump of the party apparently are going to be holding an event as well. So they can do theirs, we'll do ours.
We'll do ours, yes.
We'll let people see and judge for themselves who's got the ideas, who's got the commitments, who's got the honesty, and who's got the vision to carry us forward.
Exactly. And I think I've got those dates firmly fixed in my little diary.
Good. So it's the 1st of November, Charlene Downs demonstration, particularly if you can get to Blackpool.
Yeah.
Saturday the 29th of November, the first conference of the organisation.
Lovely. That's lovely, Nick. Now I'm going to let you go back to your little armchair and wrap your little self up.
It's not as bad as that, but I may well tonight go into the magnificent old wise remedy of whiskey, honey and hot water.
Now that's a good one. Lemon juice as well, because lemon juice clears the phlegmy.
a bit of lemon juice as well. I'm not feeling really on the honey and the whiskey.
It's more going to be the whiskey, isn't it? Be honest.
I don't believe it's a cure for Ebola. It'll do what I got. So
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. The more whiskey you have, you forget your bloody cold.
But I'll speak to you soon, and look forward to speaking
Lovely.
to you.
Thanks very much indeed, Nick.
Very
Look
well.
after yourself. Good night. Good night.
Good night.
And finally, a joke for the weekend to offend the Irish. Sean is the vicar of a Protestant parish on the border of Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, and Patrick is the priest at the Roman Catholic Church across the road. One day they're seen together, erecting a sign which says, "The end is near, turn yourself around now, before it is too late." As a car speeds past them, the driver leans out of his window and yells, "Leave people alone, you religious nutters, we don't need your lectures." From around the next curve they hear screeching tyres and a big splash. Shaking his head, Father Patrick says, "That's the tide one this morning." "Yeah," Sean agrees and then adds, "Do you think maybe the sign should just say bridge closed?" You've been listening to The World at 8. I'm Lynne Mozart, and I and the team at World at 8 and Radio Britain wish you all a very happy and a very safe weekend.